Maria Korsnick, President and CEO, Nuclear Energy Institute. Yves Desbazeille, Director General, Nuclear Europe. Akihito Uetake, Senior Managing Director, Japan Atomic Industrial Forum.
Good afternoon. So this is your wrap-up session. So if you remember, we told you that this was supposed to be a summit for action. So we've heard lots and lots of good thoughts, very inspirational, very actionable, hopefully. So what we are going to do today, I have super lucky to have here with me the leaders of many of the international nuclear associations. Essentially, we are the ones that directly work with the industry, which, as you know, as we discussed, ultimately will be the ones delivering these 3 times nuclear. So it doesn't seem like it, but today is the first day of the second week. So I know that for many of you that you've been here for an entire week at COP already, you feel that this has been forever long. Certainly, I'm losing my voice already. But today is only the first day of the second week. So there is much going on still. So before I go into what we are doing here, I really did want to put everything that we are doing in nuclear in perspective on the big scheme of things. I don't know, how many of you have been following what's going on outside of this little nuclear world? Have you heard what else is going on? Which things are being negotiating? What's happening? Because I think it's important that in addition to what we are doing in the nuclear community, we understand where we fit in the big scheme of things. So maybe I will do this in a minute to summarize this for you. The last week, there were 2 major reports that the United Nations released by the World Meteorological Society. I don't think any of you had a chance to read them. They are not short. But I will tell you the long story short. We are close to a planetary collapse. That's, I quote, what these reports say. And the 2011 to 2020 was the warmest decade ever recorded. So that's the bad news. Now, the good news, we have seen a lot of pledges. So there were 119 countries that signed a pledge to triple renewable energy. So that is excellent news. We had 60 countries that actually signed a pledge to curb cooling-related emissions. Again, very good news. But on the other hand, we also have the global stockage, which, as you know, is the #1 thing that we were supposed to do at this conference, basically take stock of where we are with each and every country's commitments. So if you look at the report that was issued shortly before COP28, you will realize that we are awfully behind our pledges and our goals. We are very, very far behind. So we really need to exponentially accelerate. And this is particularly true, unfortunately, for the developing world. So we are actually making wider the gap that existed already within the developed world and the developing world. And this climate change process is actually widening this gap. So all these things that I'm telling you is not to depress you, because we want to end in a high note, but it's to impulse you and give you more energy to make sure that what we are doing with nuclear contributes to this bigger picture that we have. So what I wanted to do is go to my esteemed colleagues and ask them to give me, let's start with Maria, your impressions of this COP28, what you've learned, what you've seen, have all your wishes been fulfilled, or in the first week at least, and maybe how you plan to take this forward from the US point of view, Maria.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Sam. And again, appreciate everybody here joining this conversation. My personal reflection for this COP is very much one that over the last few COPs, nuclear has struggled a bit to be recognized. There's been sort of a slow increase in the recognition, but this COP, I think absolutely will go down in history as being the COP that really recognized nuclear in a much more profound and extensive way. Sama just mentioned several different reports that have come out broadly, but if we take that and just narrow it to nuclear, I feel like COP28 has documented that nuclear must be part of the solution. Right? There was 40 countries that signed the IAEA pledge, maybe more than 40 countries, more than 20 countries that signed the triple nuclear net zero pledge. There's been several announcements about the investment in nuclear. I hesitate to list because I'll probably forget someone, but TerraPower was involved in an announcement, GE was involved. We just heard Westinghouse on an earlier panel today. So several demonstrations by ENEC specifically about getting engaged and involved in adding to the investment for nuclear. And so I think what's going to be beautiful about this COP isn't so much just that we're here today and we're having these conversations, but the legacy that it leaves for people to really stand up and take notice, for this many countries to be standing up and taking notice that nuclear simply must be part of the solution, right? It's fabulous. So on the one hand, that's great, let's take a breath, let's celebrate. But on the other hand, it also leaves very high expectations to move forward. And I think that's now what is on the shoulders of the industry, teaming with governments to make it happen. And I can say specifically for the United States, of course, we'll work at both a federal level as well as individual state levels, and we'll be partnering internationally. But the theme is, we've got to get to build. We've got to get those commitments for people to say, yes, we are going to build something. Because throughout the panels that we've heard here, we're not talking 1 or 2 reactors. Somebody on an earlier panel said 100 or hundreds, and I would say we're probably in the thousands. We really need to embrace it as something that's that large. And that means the large reactors, the medium, the small. We have now a whole suite of reactors that we have in our toolbox that can come forward. And teaming together, we're going to have to figure this out, right? These high expectations mean also a workforce that's much larger than we have today. You heard that on the last panel. It also means supply chain, including fuel. You heard an announcement on that yesterday saying countries need to team together to make sure we have a solid supply chain. And it also means on the regulatory side. You have countries that know nuclear that need to get more involved in a new build. You have countries that don't know nuclear and are going to be establishing their regulatory structure. And so as big as this solution set is going to be, it really demonstrates that we need to work together. The countries around the globe need to work together. We can share supply chain, we can share lessons learned, we can all get smarter together. This solution is going to require that, and we look forward to working together.
Thank you, Maria. Yves, from the point of view of Europe, how are you going to get things going over there?
Thank you, Sama, for having this last session. I think it's important to sort of wrap up, and cannot be exhaustive on all the discussion that took place over the last 2 days. Clearly, many important discussion, high-level speakers. I think it was a very, very interesting and enlightening debate. So not trying to summarize this, I think what we can observe, and here I'm on the same page as Maria, it's clear that for me it's one of the first, it's certainly the first COP where you see such a high-level commitment from governments at the highest level. I think it's a very important momentum that has now been created. We need to see it now translated into policies, and I must say at EU level, This is still something that needs to happen in details. I would say that at EU level, at least, we are not there yet. At some member state level, yes, there are things moving on already. But yeah, I would say the challenge in front of us is massive. We need to prolong the existing fleet, as long as possible. I believe this is a no-regret option, more and more understood by many people. In the US is paving the way to going up to 80 years operation. I think it is something that Europe has to look at. And I know that some first reflections are ongoing on this. We need to build new reactors in any sort. Our estimate is, at least if we want to achieve the 150 gigawatt installed capacity in 2050, which is what the member states of Nuclear Alliance have committed to, we at least need to build 120 gigawatts of new build in different sort of large reactors, modular reactors, and advanced reactors. And we need to work on all those technologies all together. I would say the challenge is absolutely immense. Both here also I sort of repeating what Maria says. Clearly, we need to mobilize supply chain workforce capacities today clearly are not enough. So we have to build on this. We have to reconstruct our whole supply chain capacity, the one we had in the 70s when all the existing fleet was developed. I believe now on the industry, we are now have to meet the expectation of our stakeholders. Governments now say, okay, guys, now you have something, how you can deliver. We need to meet the expectation also of the public, particularly the youngsters. We saw this morning how much willingness there from their side to have things, to see things moving on, and nuclear being recognized and developed at the appropriate scale. And we need also to meet the expectation of the industry, intensive users. They are now, I think, acknowledging, realizing that basically renewables will not make it, and they need to find another dispatchable source of energy, and I believe this is nuclear is it. So I think we have to work closely with those stakeholders. This is what we're going to start to doing with our SMR industrial initiative at EU level, playing a role of a platform to gather all stakeholders and find a way to increase and accelerate the deployment of SMRs across Europe.
Thank you so much, Yves. Uetake-san, so I think this is your first COP, probably, I think, yes? So tell us a little bit about your impressions and what you have taken out of this COP.
Thank you, Sama. First and foremost, I want to express my gratitude to INEC and WNA for organizing this inaugural Net Zero Nuclear Summit. It's been a fantastic gathering from which I'm sure we have all gained valuable insights. So let's start with a snapshot of JIVE. I think you are not quite familiar with my organization. It's established around the same time as Japan began its peaceful use of nuclear energy. And JIVE has been representing Japan's nuclear industry for 67 years old, and with approximately 400 members. We cover almost all stakeholders in the country. Now, our pledge of tripling nuclear capacity by 2050 is, frankly speaking, a highly ambitious goal. It is as towering as Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the tallest man-made structure ever. So looking up at it can literally give you a quake in your neck. It's almost certain that no one could have imagined such an edifice would ever come to be. So how did the people of UAE manage to build something so incredibly colossal? Reflecting on this might give us insights into fulfilling our pledge. The construction of Burj Khalifa must have begun with a dream, a grand vision that was set decades ago. This vision is what corresponds to our pledge. To design, finance, and commit to such a huge investment would have demanded extraordinary foresight, insight, thoughtfulness, decisiveness, and most importantly, courage. Looking at the Burj Khalifa, I am filled with respect for the people of UAE. And now we are in the nuclear industry, must harness these same qualities as we aim for our high targets. There is another thing we can learn from Burj Khalifa: the size, the strength of its foundation. To achieve the lofty goals we have set in our pledge, we need an equally robust foundation. The many issues we have passionately debated these past 2 days are crucial components of this foundation. They include solid policies, securing young and talented individuals, innovative technologies, suitable financing, and cross-international cooperation. I am confident that the wonderful panelists who spoke have given us all some valuable insights. However, in my opinion, the most critical element at the base of it all is safety. As a Japanese who witnessed the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear accident 12 years ago, I can say that we, the Japanese nuclear industry, have engraved this accident into the cornerstone of our everyday endeavor, always placing safety at the forefront. That despite the choice made by Germany, we have chosen to pursue a nuclear revival. One of the lessons we've learned from the disaster is the importance of continuous dialogue about safety, not just internally within our organizations, but also externally with society. As we race towards our 2050 goal over the next 27 years, it will be crucial for us to keep safety at the forefront of our discussions and communications with society. This will be the foundation that supports our entire journey. So therefore, I propose that for the second Net Zero Nuclear Summit, we consider organizing a session focused specifically on the safety. What do you think? So thank you.
Thank you so much, Uetake-san. So maybe I will close this with some of my own thoughts on what I've heard and seen these last few days here. So maybe the first thing that I think that is perhaps, I don't know if new, but not so common. I think that we have for the first time seen not only focus on saving our planet, but also saving the people that also live in the planet. We have seen many of the speakers that were here that were very interested in not only reducing carbon emissions, but also making sure that energy transition came by bringing opportunities and bringing sustainable development for people in all countries everywhere in the world. So, and of course, we know that in many occasions that will be done through nuclear energy. So I think that was one of the things that I found very important throughout this conversation. The other thing that I heard, and Maria reminded us, obviously, we as an industry have received a major challenge from 24 plus governments from all over the world. We want to triple global nuclear capacity by 2050. So governments have given us the challenge. Hopefully they will follow up by putting in place suitable policies, suitable market frameworks that are going to truly incentivize all zero carbon or low carbon technologies. And also, I think that this signal is also very good because it provides us all with this long-term visibility that allows us planning and considering nuclear energy as infrastructure, not just a one more energy project. So I think that that is very important. But I think that now, as we said, we really need to do our work together. So one of the things that I would say from our side that we've been doing for a while, but certainly we will continue to do, is working on educating the finance community. And we had a conversation earlier today about how, I think it was Mark who was talking that bankers are normal people and we need to talk to them. I'm sure they agree with that. So we definitely will continue to talking to everybody in the finance community, letting them know about the many opportunities that exist to invest in nuclear projects. And when I say nuclear projects, I mean all kinds of nuclear projects. Clearly, many people immediately think about new nuclear power plants, large, small, medium, super small. That's definitely an investment that we want to consider. But as Maria also highlighted, I mean, there is major investments that we can do in the entire nuclear fuel cycle, starting from the front end of the nuclear fuel cycle, from mining and all the infrastructure that we need to enrich, to convert, to make fuel fabrication. And also, of course, the back end of the nuclear fuel cycle, even though we do have a very good story to tell when it comes to the wise and thoughtful management of used nuclear fuel and waste in nuclear. Certainly, we need to make sure that that is true when we have 3 times as much capacity going. So, and of course, there is the entire supply chain that is going to bring about these new nuclear projects. And then, very importantly, I will take what Mark said one step forward, and it is very important for all of us to remind the companies with whom we invest that we want to invest in nuclear. So it's not just talking to banks or investment fund managers, but when the average person asks their fund manager, where is my nuclear fund? I want to invest in nuclear energy, where can I do this? So that will also go a step forward moving in that direction. Very importantly, we continue to work making sure that nuclear energy is considered ESG compliant, climate compliant, sustainability compliant, whatever you want to name it. We also heard very many good examples here, but regulation is happening in many cases. So many times this is not very sexy work, not very attractive, but somebody's got to do it. And we continue to work with the standard setting organizations to make sure that nuclear energy is part of the standards that we are seeing in this finance community. And then last but certainly not least, we really need to make sure that we have early successes. So I think that for that, we, the entire nuclear community, need to work together. I think that the opportunities are enormous. As somebody said yesterday, the pie is grown. We have a huge pie. This means that there are enormous commercial opportunities for all the players. Perhaps somebody will be first, somebody will be second, but certainly there are opportunities for everybody in this big challenge. So I think it's absolutely essential that we, as an industry, work together at a global level, that all different countries, all different organizations find opportunities to support each other. Because frankly, we have a very limited window of opportunity, and we really need to make the most of that. And I truly think that we will succeed together, or perhaps we will fail separately. So I think that's a message that I really want to bring forward. So what I would like to do is maybe just to close by reminding you the comments from COP28 President Sultan Al-Jaber this morning when he opened the second week of negotiations, because I think that this is very relevant to us here. And maybe I just want to close this these 2 days of this summit with those thoughts. But before I do this, I want to make sure that I thank, first of all, our hosts, the UAE, for organizing a very pragmatic, very bold, very proactive, very let's do something COP. So thank you very much, UAE, for doing that. I also want to thank to all of you for being here. Net Zero Nuclear is about bringing together the global nuclear community. So this is what we tried with this summit, this is what we tried with the entire initiative, and this is what we want to continue doing in future COPs and in future meetings where climate change and the role of nuclear is going to be discussed. And so, and also, of course, I want to thank the other associations that are represented here and some that aren't for their very enormous support that we have had throughout the entire putting together the work that we have done here. And certainly, last but not least, I want to thank ENEC as the home organization supporting the efforts of the nuclear industry at COP28. ENEC has been instrumental to make this very successful. So I want to, before I close, maybe take a minute of your time to thank all these people and thank yourselves for being here. So let me just truly close with the words from COP28 President. So he said this morning, let's please get this job done. I need you, all of you, to step up, and I need you to come out of your comfort zones to get this job done. So please, let's go home with this spirit and this message. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.